City of Bend officials met all day Friday with the director of the state's Department of Land Conservation and Development. The topic, Bend's proposed 8,400-acre UGB expansion and the state's denial of the city proposal. I'm Dave Adams. I talked with Bend Community Development Director Mel Oberst after that 9 to 5 meeting and asked him if he made any progress.
Well, we had a very productive meeting, and I think both parties were willing to listen to each other and to sort of examine the facts. You know, the City of Bend did appeal the director's decision. I think that helped shed some light on our position, and then we discussed some of the issues that were outstanding, sort of come meeting to the mind about some of those issues.
What's the next step?
Well, the next step is for both the state agency and for the city to take a look at what was discussed at the meeting, explore some of the options that we mutually agreed upon, and then meet again on Friday, about 2 weeks from now, to sort of to see if we've been able to move from our positions. And I think that a lot of what came out of the meeting I think was favorable for the city is that we really are on the right track. We need to possibly provide more information to support our position, but that our position is pretty solid and pretty sound. And I think for the agency, a lot of times it was just for them, it was connecting the dots on the facts. And because the record was so big, I think it was somewhat difficult to do.
So they may have had too much information?
Maybe that's the problem. There's just too much information. I think that is the case. And there were other issues, I think, where they realized that maybe there was need for them to be a little bit more understanding and flexible, because maybe the law didn't exactly require certain things, and that we could achieve what they were wanting in a different way.
Now, Mel, the state wanted the city to have denser infill, but local residents want to retain the character of Bend and not have a repeat of a Eugene or Salem. Did Richard Whitman, the director of DLCD, understand that?
Yes, they did. They understood it very well, and they said, we're really not asking you to go into existing neighborhoods and change the character of those neighborhoods. They were more concerned with, can you increase the density in the new areas that you're going to grow into the vacant lands that don't have existing neighborhoods. And we demonstrated to them, well, overall, in our 20-year planning period, with the policies that we have in place, the density in the newer areas is going to be higher than it is in existing Bend. But it's going to be done in a way that's characteristic of Bend development. So we're not going to lose the character of Bend. But I think they understood, that we getting a little higher density in the new areas is going to help us provide services more efficiently, and it's also going to provide more affordable housing.
Now, as far as 8,400 acres, did they have a problem with just the size of that, and are you going to have to whittle that down?
The only thing they had an issue with on the size of it was there was like 3,000 acres that we brought in, which we said was unsuitable for development because it already had existing counties. They said, well, is there any opportunity to increase density in those county subdivisions? And we argued that no, there is not. They said, well, then you need to sort of connect the dots and say why. So we're going back to the records that we've submitted to them to show that most of those county subdivisions have CC&Rs that prohibit redivision. In many cases, in the county subdivisions, the value of a home on that land is way more than the value of the land. So the likelihood that someone is going to want to tear down a home, create 7 homes on a 3-acre site is very unlikely within the next 15 to 20 years. That's some of the exchange of information we had. I think they're okay. The size of the UGB is not as big an issue with them as we thought it was.
So in the next phone conference when you get together, do you believe you'll be able to come to an agreement then? Are we that close?
No, I'm not that optimistic that we'll be at total agreement. But I think we'll have narrowed the issues down to where they're manageable. And then when we go before the Land Conservation and Development Commission in March, both the state and the city will be able to discuss some very narrow issues at that point and have the commission make a decision on that. Rather than take a very complex and unsettled issue to the commission, we will take some very narrowly defined issues.
So this is laying the groundwork for a hopeful adoption in the March meeting?
It's laying the groundwork for a better result in the March meeting for sure. It's laying the groundwork for greater chance of success.
City of Bend Community Development Director Mel Oberst. I'm Dave Adams. Take 5 is a production of 1110 KBND Radio News. Depend on us.